It's so nice to see you, Victor. And thank you so much, Victor and Setsi, for inviting me to chat with you folks today. As you said, I'm Liz. I'm the CEO of Bisocial Canada. I'm really grateful to be joining you today from the unceded traditional ancestral territories of the Lillooet and Squamish Nation. I'm a visitor here on the lands today and I'm very grateful. And as I said, I'm the CEO of Bisocial Canada. We are a national social enterprise across Canada with the mission to advance a social value marketplace. And so when we talk about the social value marketplace, we believe that it has three key components. So it has a demand side, purchases, buying things. It has a supply side. For us, that really focuses on social enterprises, businesses with a social, environmental, or cultural mission that are reinvesting the majority of their profits back into that mission. And then social finance, the ability to finance those suppliers to support their sustainability and their growth. And Bisocial Canada's work kind of day-to-day focuses on two key components of that marketplace, where we help organizations to buy and sell with an impact. So as I said, on the supply side, our work focuses on social enterprise. We offer a national certification of social enterprises. You can go to our website and find that as an open source directory. So anyone can go buy from social enterprises. And we have an amazing network of, I think, over 250 certified social enterprises now across the whole country. And then on the demand side, we work with purchases. So that's a lot of our work working in social procurement. So how do we leverage a social value from the billions of dollars that are spent across Canada? So thinking about government purchasing of corporations, of institutions like hospitals and universities. And we see social procurement as a journey. So we work with organizations all the way from, okay, I've seen the word social and procurement. What does that mean? Through to, great, yes, we get it. This is something we want to do. How do we now put that into practice? What does our policy look like? How do we measure this? How do we test and do and lead in that space? So we, again, do that in a number of ways. We have open source tools and resources on our website that folks can go to. We have consulting and partnerships with a whole range of organizations across the country. And as you said, Victor, we also don't do any of this just by ourselves. I think for us, a really key piece of the way we do our work is in collaboration. So we're so grateful to be able to work with community champions across the country, folks like Setsi, like Momentum in Calgary, like Le Chantier in Quebec, because it really does take a whole network of all of us kind of doing this work together to get us that little bit closer to the social value marketplace.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for all that context. It's truly inspiring to see your work flourish in so many ecosystems. So my next question, what's inspiring you right now? What has you curious, or what's keeping you up at nights?
Well, it's funny, actually, that you said 5 years. I think 5 years that we've been working together. It's actually exactly 5 years today since I joined Bisocial Canada. And this year is Bisocial Canada's 10th anniversary. So I think part of what is inspiring me right now, and having kind of taken a little bit of time this morning to pause, is to be inspired by like how far we've come in 10 years, in 5 years, and to be inspired by the persistence and patience of all the folks who've been working on this. You know, Bisocial Canada's founder, David LePage, has been working on this for decades. And so I'm inspired by, and I think, you know, I also want to celebrate how much is being achieved in social enterprise, in social procurement across Canada. You know, we have a federal social procurement policy, we have the Social Innovation Social Finance strategy, we've got municipalities, corporations across Canada, all looking at how they implement social procurement. And I think day to day, you know, I'm also really inspired by the social enterprise sector. This is why we do this work. Social enterprises are amazing. They provide cleaning and catering and work in construction at the same time as producing so much additional social value in our community. And so I think I'm inspired by the power of the stories that we tell ourselves and we tell each other, and how that can shift how we see ourselves and how we see the work that we do. I think an example that always inspires me is, you know, on the procurement side, I remember meeting with a procurement individual in Ontario saying, okay, you know, we're going to be doing this work, social procurement together. Tell me a bit more about what you do. And she's struggling. She's like, I just buy stuff. I don't know, my job. I just get told to buy stuff and I buy it. I'm like, okay, Tell me what you're buying today. Okay, well, today I'm running the stationery order. I do that every month. I'm buying some pens and pencils and sticky notes. Okay, you're doing that. And who are you buying it from? The local stationery company, that employs 3 local people. And so when you see it that way, when you walk to work today, you pass that stationery shop. If you weren't buying from them month on month, maybe you'd be passing a boarded up building today. Maybe you wouldn't be waving at the folks who work at that store. And I think to see that recognition in her eyes and go, oh my gosh, I'm not just buying pencils. This is I'm doing something really important. This is really exciting. I think that's really inspiring to see that when people tell themselves a different story, the energy and enthusiasm that they feel about the power that they have.
That's incredible. Thank you so much. And congrats. 10 years, 5 years, 10-year anniversary, 5 years here. That's incredible. Like, what a journey. What a journey. And once again, thank you so much for making it so digestible to understand the power of social procurement and the purchasing power of different levels of government, anchor institutions, so on and so forth. It's incredible work. And once again, I applaud our remarkable and fearless leadership of our brilliant colleague, David LePage. When I tell you he's one of my favorite people in the world, so humble, but such tenacity and resilience and just servant leadership. Like, I think that's a lot of people can learn from his leadership approach. So once again, I just give thanks for you honoring him, because I try my best to honor him as well in any conversation I have. Had a beautiful conversation with Peter Pula the other day, and we were talking like 15 minutes just about David and how much we care about his leadership stance and just all the work that he's done and the beautiful legacy he's left for us to continue in terms of federal procurements and lots of opportunities for many. So my next question, and a little bit of a segue, a little bit of a shift in gears. What are some of the challenges you're currently facing and barriers, and what are some of the approaches you and your colleagues are taking to overcome some of these challenges and barriers?
It's a great question because, yes, I think we can be inspired and excited, but definitely there are challenges and barriers along the way. We call social procurement a journey, and no journey is straightforward and linear. Sometimes we kind of take a wrong turn, or we're struggling and Google Maps is loading and we're like, I don't know where I'm going next. So there are definitely challenges and barriers that folks face along the way. And I think one of the key fundamental things that we face as a challenge is that we have all of us alive today have lived through or living in a colonized Canada. We're living in a system where there's a presiding capitalist system, and that tells us that we have this overarching belief that best value is lowest price. We grew up, as much as we know that 1 and 1 is 2, most of us have grown up sort of with this understanding that the best value that we can get for something is the lowest dollar value that we spend. And it takes a real mindset shift to be able to understand that lowest price isn't always best value. We talk about these elements of community capital and the fact that economic capital is a really key piece there. But we also need to think about cultural capital, the respect for culture and diversity in our communities, of environmental capital, a healthy, natural and built environment, the social capital, the glue that holds our communities together, and the human capital, the ability to not just survive, but thrive in our communities, to access training and education opportunities. And we're not trained our brains to think about those other impacts when we're making a purchasing decision. And so that can be a challenge. But I think, again, once we get over that first hurdle of starting to shift that equation and say, okay, also, we're not taking out lowest price. Price is still a key component of this equation, but maybe 1 and 1 and 2 makes 5. We can produce more. We can produce more in our. Did my math wrong there, so that's embarrassing. 1 and 2 is 4. I promise. That's the basics. But what I'm trying to say is that I think when folks start to realize that they can produce, they can still have that value, but we need to get over and that understanding of what best value is. I think the other challenge that we're seeing. And as we start to see this movement and this growth of social procurement, it's almost a good challenge to be experiencing. I think it's evidence that the demand for social procurement is growing. is that we're starting to see that we need to match the supply and the demand. So by demand, as we see purchasers saying, okay, we'll do this. Tell us how. Show us these social enterprises that can, provide these goods or services. One of the challenges that we're seeing is making sure that we have a thriving social enterprise sector that can respond to that demand, whether it's at the scale that's needed, whether it's providing the actual goods and services that are required. And so I think that's sort of the next challenge that we're looking to overcome together with our friends and our colleagues, is how do we make sure that we have social enterprises, we have suppliers that can respond to that demand. And when we think about the third element of the marketplace, how do we make sure that the finance is available to social enterprises and to suppliers in order to grow and scale and meet that demand?
Indeed, I couldn't agree more. Thank you. So my next question, do you have a set of key priorities right now in your work you'd like to share or amplify with our listeners and our viewers?
Yeah, I think it echoes kind of those challenges that I spoke to. So I think that the first thing is continuing to create that demand for social procurement. As I said, yes, there is huge momentum. It's amazing that we have a federal government social procurement policy. I used to try and name the municipalities. There's too many now. That's amazing. There are so many municipalities, institutions, corporations recognizing the power of their purchasing. But a priority is to continue to build that demand. Every purchase that we make has the opportunity to produce a social value in our community. So we won't stop till that demand is at that scale. So definitely a priority to keep that going. And then on the supply side, I think there's a number of things. I think one of the priorities is continuing to raise awareness of social enterprise. I want to be able to talk to friends, family, colleagues, anyone, and say social enterprise, and they know what that is. And we're not there yet. Folks still are trying to understand what social enterprises are. So I think the key priority is continuing to raise awareness of what social enterprises are and what they do. And then, as I said, to then match that to the demand. So key priority, I think, moving forward is going to be continuing to work with that growing network of social enterprises. Say, what do you need to build that capacity in order to respond to the demand of social procurement?
Beautiful. Thank you. So my second last question, what is your ultimate goal and what does success look like and feel like to you and your colleagues?
Our ultimate goal is a social value marketplace, where we have those three key elements. So social finance, the social procurement, the demand side, and social enterprise, the supplier side. And I think our ultimate goal is that they're all also in equilibrium. They're all balanced. They're all supporting each other. And so I think that's part of that next step, is that we're seeing momentum in different areas, but we need to start to align them if we're going to ultimately end up with a sustainable social value marketplace. And so I think for me and my colleagues, part of our ultimate goal is that we kind of all have to go out and get different jobs. There isn't a Bi-Social Canada maybe in 10 years or whatever time frame that looks like, because ultimately we do have a social value marketplace. We don't need to teach people about social procurement or social enterprise, because that's just how we do business. And so I think that's ultimately our goal.
I love it. So my last question, do you have any closing thoughts or calls to action for our listeners and our viewers?
I think that I've talked about this power that exists in our purchasing, and the power that we have to leverage the change that we want to see in our communities, so that we're not just surviving, we're thriving in our communities. And so I think we all play that role, whether it's as consumers or clients, whether it's as individual purchasers, to keep building that demand for social procurement, questioning, asking, what is the social value that's being produced here? As employees as well, we have huge power to leverage in aligning our individual values with the values and the behaviors of the organizations that we're working for. So I think there's huge opportunity there to keep leveraging that power that we have as purchasers to keep building demand for social procurement. And also that awareness of social enterprise that really starts with conversations and building those relationships and telling those stories. Have you purchased from a social enterprise in your community? tell people about that. Go to the Buy Social Canada directory. We have social enterprises that do, as I said, coffee, catering, construction, like really anything that as an individual or a business you could be looking to purchase from a social enterprise and tell that story. Tell the story about the amazing good or service that they produced, as well as those personal stories that I know social enterprises love to tell. So ask them, they will tell you, and you can tell others as well.
Love it. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for your consistent visionary leadership, your brilliance, and the remarkable authenticity you bring to this work. And as always at Setsi, we close these conversations, these interviews the way we began, by giving thanks to the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We give thanks to all our ancestors, all those who toiled, without compassion or compensation. We give thanks to all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for all that you do for so many. I appreciate you.